Hi there, my name is Nathan Thomas and I'm making this federal election video just to get people thinking about a few things. I know that a lot of people aren't happy with the current Labor government due to the infighting, a lot of the administration things. I think it's always important to look at some of the reforms that they've delivered, such as the NBN, NDIS, Gonski reforms, and they're changing their party platform to support same-sex marriage, even though it's a conscience vote. I think that Tony Abbott has come under very little scrutiny in this election campaign as a result of the Murdoch press, so I thought I'd put this video together to put in a few things just to remind us of exactly who the Liberal Party are and what they stand for. The question we need to ask is, do we want somebody like Tony Abbott representing us in an international forum? Because the way I look at it is really he's the Australian version of George Bush. I think he's an awful person. I think he's three-word slogans. He has his little real solutions booklet. I'm in his electorate, and it is absolutely wafer thin. They have no policies. I have no idea what they stand for other than bringing back the budget to surplus. So anyway, enjoy this video, and I hope at the ballot box you support a party that has a vision for the future. For me, that's the Greens. For others, I think it'll be the ALP, but I don't know whether the Liberal Party have a vision. I certainly don't understand it. So anyway, enjoy the footage.
Tony Abbott's front bench and the campaign for gay marriage have both taken heavy hits on a chaotic day in Parliament House. Senior Liberal Cory Bernardi was forced to quit the front bench for suggesting same-sex marriage might lead to acceptance of bestiality. And when Parliament moved to a historic first vote on gay marriage, it was defeated by such a big margin, some supporters are predicting it could take a decade to recover.
It's clear from the vote that the numbers simply aren't there in this Parliament for change.
I think this government, the whole of the Parliament that voted against this, should just be ashamed.
Homosexuality. How do you feel about that?
Oh, I probably feel a bit threatened.
I understand that this is a very sensitive debate.
So how's this for sensitivity? Gay marriage leads to polygamy.
The next step, quite frankly, is having three people that love each other should be able to enter into a permanent union endorsed by society, or four people.
And the step after that?
There are even some creepy people out there who say that, it's okay to have consensual sexual relations between humans and animals. Will that be a future step? Will that be one of the things that say, well, these two creatures love each other, maybe they should be able to join in a union?
We want to price carbon. We want to have a strong economy. We want to have a fair society. We want to introduce disability care. We want to transform our nation's school. We're rolling out the NBN so homes and businesses can be transformed. What is your policy for the future, Sophie? What does the Liberal Party stand for today? What do you stand for?
Well, we can go through it. Well, there is a very big difference between the Labor Party and the coalition.
Do you have very simply though? Do you have a list like that of?
Of course we do. We've got the Real Solutions booklet. There's over 52 policies. Over 52 Oh no, Tanya. There are over 52 policies.
It's the lack of detail. He still keeps holding up that little booklet. What's your little booklet called, Malcolm?
Real Solutions.
Real Solutions.
That was said with real enthusiasm.
Awkward. Very awkward. See, he cradled...
And the 6 points are?
Well, one of the points would be, the key point would be stopping the boats. We're safe to do so. We have a plan to stop the boats. It is under the Labor Party.
Forget about Labor. We're talking about the Liberal Party. What are the other 5 points?
Well, look, it is under the Labor Party that all...
The other 5 points?
Well, I've answered your question.
You've said turn back the boats. You told me it was a 6-point plan. What about the other 5 points?
Yeah. Well, we have a plan to stop the boats.
I also think that if you want to put a price on carbon, why not just do it with a simple tax? Why not ask motorists to pay more? Why not ask electricity consumers to pay more?
The statements that need to be taken absolutely as gospel truth is those carefully prepared scripted remarks.
So every time you make a statement, we have to ask you whether it's carefully prepared and scripted or whether it's just something on the fly.
Look, I think that the climate change science is far from settled. The fact that we've...
Just one final point
very
on this.
Quickly.
No, does this guy ever shut up?
If it shuts you up for a second, yes, Julia. If you were to put a carbon tax on energy consumption, if you were to put a carbon tax on fuel consumption, and if you were then to rebate that tax to the people who paid it, you would have raised the price of carbon, you would have avoided an increase in the overall tax burden, and you would have gone down a path that everyone understands. So I think that would have been a much simpler way of going.
Has so consistently denied to meeting me.
Look, it was a stunt. Let's be upfront about this. I know Bernie is very sick, but just because a person is sick doesn't mean that he is necessarily pure of heart in all things. They're young, they're feisty. I think I can probably say have a bit of sex appeal. And
point of difference between Tony Abbott and Kevin Rudd is marriage equality. News pollers found swinging voters are now more likely to support the party that favours gay marriage. Tony Abbott's not convinced. On radio, he seemed to dismiss it as a fad.
I'm not someone who wants to see radical change based on the fashion of the moment.
Good on you. OK, so as you leave Canberra, who will you miss the least? Tony Windsor?
I got to say it. Sophie Mirabella, she wins the nasty prize.
Rob Oakeshott, are you happy with that, or do you want to add to the list?
Look, I'm a lover, not a fighter now, but in the interest of unity, I'll agree with Tony.
And every day the Prime Minister stands in this Parliament to defend this Speaker will be another day of shame for this Parliament, another day of shame for a government which should already have died of shame.
Yeah, the Leader of the Opposition knows that very well, because on a number of occasions he actually begged for the job. Begged for the job. You've never denied it, Tony. You've never denied it, and you won't. He begged for the job, and he made the point, not only to me but to others that were in that negotiating period, that he would do anything to get that job. Anything to get that job. And you would well remember, and your colleagues should be aware, that the only codicil that you put on that was, I will do anything, Tony, to get this job. The only thing I wouldn't do is sell my arse.
The member for New...
From Jeff Thomas.
Thank you. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I've been a plumbing contractor for 37 years. I support with a social conscience the Liberal philosophy. I have a gay son. When I was confronted with that situation in a very short amount of time and with due consideration, I accepted his position. And I overcame my ignorance and my fear of gays and the idea of gay marriage. When will you, Mr Abbott, take up the same... When will you, sir, overcome your fear and ignorance of gay people and give them the dignity and respect that you would that you'd happily give to all other Australians?
Well, Jeff, I absolutely agree with you that people have got to be given dignity and respect, and I would always try to find it in my heart to give dignity and respect to people, regardless of their circumstances, regardless of their opinions. So that is absolutely my position. But I think that there are lots of terrific gay relationships, lots of terrific commitments between gay partners, but I just don't think that marriage is the right term to put on it.
Joe, I'm a little confused because earlier you said you think all Australians are equal, but on Friday you said you wouldn't vote for marriage equality because you really believe children deserve a mother and a father. So I'm wondering if you could tell us and Senator Wong why you think you and Melissa make better parents than her and Sophie.
Well, I don't believe we necessarily make better parents because we're a male and female. I must confess my view has changed since I've had children, and that's very hard. A lot of my friends, whether they be heterosexual or gay, they hold the same view as you. But I think in this life we've got to aspire to give our children what I believe to be the very best circumstances, and that's to have a mother and a father. And I'm not saying that I'm not saying gay parents are any lesser parents, but I am being asked to legislate in favour of something that I don't believe to be the best outcome for a child.
Penny Wong.
Well, there's almost nothing I can say. I think the first logical point is marriage has generally not been prerequisite for children, so I don't think the logical position holds. But just from a sort of values perspective, it is sad, I think, that some families have to feel that they have to justify who they are, because when you say those things, Joe, what you're saying to not just me but people like me, is that the most important thing in our lives, which is the people we love, is somehow less good, less valued. And if you believe that, you believe that, but I have a different view.
Is it hurtful?
Oh, of course it is. But, I know what my family is worth.
That's all we have time